government that seems to be the best right now at setting a framework and sort of reining in behavior online that they is China. So how does the United States walk that line between protecting the democracy and the safety of people and yet not becoming so heavy-handed that the rule of law as it exists in the United States gets violated?
Author Evelyn Beatrice Hall best captured the principle behind free speech when she wrote, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." But do Americans really believe that? Here's David Pogue.
When someone says something we disagree with, should we shut them up? In 1927, Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis had an answer. "The remedy to be applied," he wrote, "is more speech, not enforced silence." Well, in that case, the internet should have solved everything. It's nothing but more speech. And yet, lately, the news is full of stories about people trying to limit other people's expression.
A proposed bill would regulate classroom discussion on race.
Ban most discussions of sexuality and gender identity in schools.
The Tennessee School Board under fire for removing a Holocaust novel from its curriculum.
Spotify taking heat once again over its most popular podcaster, Joe Rogan.
A new Georgetown law administrator has not even started his job yet, but he's already facing calls to be fired.
I would argue that the culture of free speech is under attack in the U.S. And without a robust culture of free speech based on tolerance, the laws and constitutional protection will ultimately erode.
Now there's a concept of disinformation, where you deliberately engage in lies, in fact, to cause harm, to cause injury, to exclude some people. But what it really means is that our understanding of the First Amendment and understanding of free speech is evolving. It has to evolve.
It's probably no coincidence that the new censorship culture arose simultaneously with social networks like Facebook and Twitter.
The First Amendment was conceived as a protection of citizens from restriction of expression by the government and not by private companies or other entities.
According to Mishangama, social networks censor us in another way too, by making us afraid to speak at all.
It was actually the survey from 2020 by the Cato Institute which showed that 62% of Americans self-censor who are afraid to sort of express their political views on specific topics. And I think it shows this paradox. Americans enjoy the strongest legal constitutional protection of free speech probably in world history, but they still fear the consequences of being fired for speaking out on certain political views, and that's not a healthy sign.
So there's going to be some problems on the internet, and so you can brace yourself for this. I'm going to assure you of this. These problems will be the excuses that will be used to stifle free speech and to control the internet and to control what can travel over the internet, who can do it. Eventually, there may be even licenses required to use the internet for anything other than sending email. Now, I'm making this prediction based upon what I can see right now and based upon what the government has already proven to us that they want to do. So knowing how badly they want to control information and control the internet, and remember, it was the government that set this whole system up in the first place, whether you understand it or not, and whether you realize it or not, they didn't do it for altruistic reasons, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't decide to allow the public in on this because they thought the public needed to know all this information. No. They did it with the ultimate goal of everything eventually going digital, ladies and gentlemen, over a worldwide network that since they set it up, they will eventually be able to control. And understanding human nature and the abuses that some people will heap upon others and will take advantage of this huge, vast informational highway, understanding the human nature in all of this, they're going to use that for the ultimate end excuse to bring total control on all of it. And it's going to be a hard fight. It's not going to be easy for them, but I guarantee you, in the end, they're going to win. They're going to win. So there's going to be some problems on the internet. And so you can brace yourself for this. I'm going to assure you of this. These problems will be the excuses that will be used to stifle free speech and to control the internet. So there's going to be some problems on the internet.